Solar. I believe he's on Kaizi Gaming. Kaizi Gaming? I don't know. He doesn't have his tag here. We've seen Solar versus Astrea as a finals match several times over. Astrea has been battling in Korea for a while. And oh my, I forgot to in the bottom right, challenging Neeb, though maybe not quite there yet, for the best Protoss or even best player in the United States of America. Qualifying and competing in GSL Coda, sometimes against his opponent. May I introduce to you Team Alpha X's Astrea. Honestly, he kind of plays like Neeb. He has yet to surpass Neeb, despite Neeb not really taking much interest. This is small potatoes for Neeb, okay? He only goes for the big bucks, the championships. He actually doesn't play in the Open Cups very much, so that's why we don't get the opportunity to introduce him as often, but we might need to get just as hyped. Astrea it's a real, not a Cinderella story, but a hard work and a bootstraps, well, such as they are for Protoss story. As just a few years ago, he was a solid Grandmaster player, but did not stand out from the pack. I think he would admit as well, like, mid-GM. Like, there are a lot of players who are mid-GM on North America, which amounts to having quite an ego, and not much more than that, I know, as a former mid-GM player myself. But he actually put a ton of time in. He moved to Korea, and now, like, after a couple years, he's gone from one of those mid-GM players to competing for the best in America and the entire continent, let alone Codes. So, Astrea has put the work in, and he's made it. He's approaching the top. But of course, players like Solar are stiff competition. Solar, always a consistent playoffs player, despite being somewhat rarely a champion. That's why he gets his best of the rest moniker from me, where like Serral and Raynor and whatever, like Dark or Rogue, decides they're going to have a new build today, are usually the flashiest Zerg players, but Solar's just there, okay? He's there, and he's waiting to knock you out of the tournament before losing to someone with a little more notoriety. So far, 4.5 minutes in, a bunch of Zerglings looking to potentially deny the third, but Astrea already has 4 Adepts there ready to defend. Not quite jammed in by the power. That's a lot of Zerglings, but Oracle, meanwhile, finds some kills. This just isn't going great. Trying to get... Astrea! You shall not pass! The force field's immaculate! Oh, wow. Okay, well, Solar was banking on breaking this, but doesn't kill any sentries, does not cancel the base, does not pass go, does not pass 200, does not collect 200 minerals. Astrea, like, Solar really leaned on that. He lost 25 Zerglings. Astrea did lose an Oracle somewhere in there. Something was happening, obviously. Everyone but Solar was distracted, including myself. But the defense on the third, the intention was to cancel or maybe kill it, but did not end up happening. The drone count is healthy, but not overwhelming. And Astrea still has an Oracle on the field. The creep spread's minimal. So we are going into what could be called a macro game. A little bit of flirting with aggression on either side, but it should end now. A Dark Shrine is on the way, which is an interesting follow-up. I'm not sure why the Dark Shrine over the Templar choice. I don't... Oh, Astrea, it's time... Oh my god, the stop position probe made it so the Zerglings couldn't figure out what they wanted, but now they won't have a choice. Was it a decoy shrine? Did he intentionally make the Dark Shrine, intending it to be Astrea is just... He's playing StarCraft, but more importantly, he's playing some intense mind games on top of this micro. Like, these force fields are parting in his Amazon Prime level. very subtle. That is... I mean, so it's Solar setting him up for it. He built a bunch of Zerglings early. He's kind of forced to try to do damage. But... And this has not been super costly, as Solar already had a solid economy behind it. But you'd ideally want to get more than 3 Adepts with a few dozen Zerglings. That is just... I think so far it's more of a mental victory than a real physical one. Where Astrea can just like walk across the map and win. Of course, that's not even close to happening right now, as Solar has 74 drones against a nice number from Astrea, but a few down. Astrea's going double robo, probably Raptors on the agenda, almost certainly Disruptors on the agenda. Solar looks like he's gonna build some Ravagers, some Roaches, some Lings, and then attack, like the Swarm. Cheap, quick building, fast units, and try to smash the force fields. Astrea seems to be laying down so beautifully, and overwhelm the defenses. Astrea is going to have to continue these beautiful force fields while still maintaining, but holding on to his economy. Solar can back this. Even some Queen Brenda is sending out an expeditionary force of queens as well, just for some basic anti-air and support. I mean, why not? 4th base is canceled. Double Raptors being, I assume, chrono boosted. They're both at the 3rd, by the way. Reminds me of Neeb's Legacy of the Void Adept into double robo build, which everyone was doing for like a year. It's back, to an extent. The Raptors, though, it's going to come down to the first couple shots. Usually the most effective. Fires a shot, flips a Ravager. Doesn't find much more than that. Another shot through the mix. The Queens, nope! The force field's trying to box in the Queens, but they will not be stopped by such puny things. The Ravagers knock them down. The dance continues. Corrosive Bile up against Blink. Ravagers have cooled down and warmed up. Should be ready to fire again. Astrea at 170 supply. Blunks forward! It's important to know the difference between a blink, a blunk, and a blonk. A blink is when you just normal blink micro back and forth. A blunk is when you blunk on someone. That one's pretty clear. But a blonk is when you lose way more stalkers than you bargained for, you impatient buffoon. Probably named Patience. Somewhat ironically. Actually, incredibly ironic. Oh, what a shot! But the second Raptor getting caught. One good shot does not a victory make. The hitbox of Ravagers may be almost as large as your mother's, but at the same time, that means one Disruptor isn't going to change the game. At least not when Astrea isn't maxed out and is unable to really capitalize on the situation. Meanwhile, speaking of capitalizing, Solar finds another opportunity, and he cancels the 4th. And Astrea's economy, like he has a very micro-intensive army, whereas Solar just needs to keep throwing things at him. Another Disruptor. Finds a couple Ravagers. He's got 2 more. Lurkers closing the distance. Good shot. Center mass. Looking for more. Another nice one. Some great shots, but is there detection for these couple Lurkers? There is Hive done. Do they have adaptive talents? They do not yet. Seismic. Oh no, the Raptors! Oh, he loses. Wait, that Raptor is at no HP. It gets canceled. Another one, front lines. It's so easy to lose track of those Disruptors. They need water balloons like the Templar. Oracle's coming in. The Disruptors have been... 6 Disruptors have been lost. And while they've traded pretty well, they've traded. They're dead. They're gone. He's building more, but they're not free. And Solar has held strongly onto 4 bases, going on 5. He's got a Hive, 77 drones. All the makings of a later game army up against Astrea, who's still mostly reliant on Stalker Disruptor, which is going to get less and less effective as Vipers and Lurkers get mixed in. Alright, those Lurkers now have their range upgrade, which means even Blink Stalkers are going to have trouble avoiding them. Zergling counterattack. Astrea's micro has been mostly... Oh, get over here! What did I just say? The Vipers bring the Prism into range, but the Blink Stalkers find one of the extraneous bases, charge lots, and a very brave probe chasing back some roaches. Scouting Disruptor continuing its efforts, also joined by its friend. And now this becomes the issue. There's a lot of moving parts, and if any of them get caught, there goes an Oracle. There go the Ruptors. Blink Stalkers out of position. Charge lots have to fight on their own. Disruptors backing it up. A couple Lurkers, double shot. Knocks out a Lurker. Vipers, though, show up to the party, even though Astrea most definitely did not invite them. Adaptive Talons is nearly done. Snipes a Viper. Good blink. Looking for more. Curves the shot into some of this. The Stalkers themselves can't fight this heads up. They will lose. The Stalkers are here to zone out for the Ruptors. But if the Ruptors decide that they're going to go wander across the map and bring enlightenment somehow to the Zerg, well, that is a misguided venture, to say the very least. Storm is on the way, though. Astrea has successfully bullied his way into a 4th. Solar, on the other hand, is grabbing his 5th yet again. He's calmed down a little, and Astrea trying some more, but one ambitious Lurker. Well, successful Lurker. This will distract Astrea, at least. Center of the map. I don't know how many. There are 8 Ruptors on the field. The Octo Ruptor build, which just sounds very cool, but I don't know how effective it's going to be. He's holding on to the Ruptors. He's got a tsunami of splash damage at the 3rd. One Lurker will drag all the Blink Stalkers out of position, leaving just the robotics units and the Templar to defend. Disruptor shots firing from both sides. Caught in the center of this Zerg sandwich. A bunch of Lurkers. Looking for more. Stalkers coming in from the left flank. Most of the shots were fired, but Storm lands. Shield battery overcharge. Astrea, huge shot. Quadruple kill. The Vipers will yank the Disruptors in, but to what end? Astrea's holding the line. His supply is higher, losing a few probes. The Natural is broken, bruised, but not completely destroyed. Another couple shots, finds everything but one Lurker. The Ravagers close the distance. More shots coming out. Lurker cleaned up. Lings swarming in. 9 probes down, but still plenty to keep this going. More charge lots warped in. A whole lot of the gateways have been depowered. There's only a handful of gateways left online. Astrea's starting to bank up money right now because he can't spend it. Gateways offline. He lost, I think, one of the robotics facilities. Viper's taken out. Charge lots on the other side of the map. Lurker den targeted, but transfused by a heroic queen. The Warp Prism got into it. 7 drones go down, bringing him to a cool 69. Carriers and adrenal glands as both players tech up in this dramatic growth of the tree. And we get a second to calm down. Astrea will bring his gateways back online. Solar will restabilize his tech, clean out the charge lots, and continue his upgrades. Is this really the Evo? I think this was made as a battery pack for Vipers, but now it's upgrading +3 missile attacks. So that's happening. They've both really just exchanged significant blows, but somehow neither coming out in a decisive position. That is quite rare, especially at this stage of this matchup. But here, it looks like both sides are going to be trading out their less valuable... Oh my god. Some of the most expensive and most dangerous units Protoss has out on the field. But here comes some more fadeaway shots. Looking for more. Disruptors off. Unfortunately, the Archons finding themselves in a tough spot. Astrea is transitioning into carriers, and Solar is transitioning into punching him in the face again. The Disruptor count has dwindled to 2. The Blink Stalkers are most of the defense. The Hydras are incredibly well upgraded, and the carriers simply aren't, which means right now Solar has an opportunity, but Astrea says not so fast. The Warp Prism's still intact, and with the carriers, there's a timer on this attack. Suddenly, Solar his economy is hurting and needs to stabilize. But there goes the hatchery, and there goes the Nexus. Carriers are not a poor man's unit, but Astrea has established another base that has, as of yet, been untouched at the 12 o'clock position. He was mostly mined out. Well, there go the Robos, but are there enough Hydras to deal with the carriers? I would say when the carriers decide they want to fight on their own, Probably not the best idea. One knockdown, 16 probes with it. Hydra's closing the distance. Astrea caught with minimal splash damage. Wait a second, from stage right, in come a couple more Raptors. One misses the mark, but the other one finds some lurkers. He needs to get rid of the lurkers so he can actually fight the Hydras. The carriers, shield battery overcharge, gonna patch things together for now, but the interceptor count is dwindling. It's +3/+1 against just +1 and +1 shields in the air. Get over here, another carrier caught and almost killed. It looks like the Hydras will close the distance. Astrea doesn't have the firepower to dislodge this army anymore. He lost too many disruptors. He did a hard transition into carriers probes, not well known for their effectiveness against lurkers, but usually pretty well known for their bravery, so I'll give him that. Meanwhile, a base trade with 6 Blink Stalkers and 3 carriers is incredibly optimistic from the American Protoss, but he's nothing if not bold. Now Hydra's closing the distance, the carriers being taken out of the sky. A recall is definitely an option. The lurkers, there's no detection, and suddenly Solar up 100 supply. The swarm battering down Astrea in game 1. And with 50 probes and say 80 supply, 80 supply left, 50 probes down, another Ruptor comes in, but I'm taking some of you with me. I think the writing is on the wall and will manifest itself with 2 letters. Okay, wait. No, Brenda? Wait. Okay. That warp prism. He should be dead. Okay, he's gonna be dead. Just give it a second. Ooh. Well, that was a lot. There was a lot there. But at the end, it was just a bit too many expensive units haphazardly lost. Some incredible micro from Astrea. But that was counterbalanced by some incredible macro out of Solar. Solar definitely, at least in the early game to the mid-game, less effective or cost-effective with his units. But there is a point, as I've said before, that quantity outweighs quality. And he ended up with both. Carriers are not cheap. Okay. With that said, with that wisdom, with that, well...
The numbers don't lie, and they spell disaster for you.
But still, I would love to see more games like that, even if it means the American Protoss going down. That was, honestly, one of the most exciting Protoss versus Zergs I've seen in a bit. There wasn't the... usually it does feel like there's a timing phase, and that's usually the first 6-7 minutes is when it caps out, when either there's some sort of queen push or a Twilight Council usually push out of Protoss, and then we all kind of calm down and figure out whether or not Sky Toss is going to be the order of the day. But Astrea just kept throwing units out. A very Neeb-esque macro style. Definitely, like, maybe it's in his best interest to play more defensive, but not in my best interest. So like and subscribe if you want to see more of that sort of Protoss. The thing is, it's so brittle. It's reliant on a bunch of glass cannons. Like, Blink Stalkers and Disruptors are 2 of individually the weakest units in the game. Like, the cost to benefit ratio of Blink Stalker Disruptor requires like 300 APM just to justify it at this level. And you saw, like, even Astrea, who's at the very top, it starts to fall apart. He held it together for a long time. Is this a Nexus first? By the way? Nexus first from Astrea. Okay, I like it. He's like, you know what? Even more macro. I like it. Solar, I will one-up you. Gets a 3rd hatch before the pool is done. Before 2 minutes. So Astrea, the Nexus first, and Solar with a quick 3 hatch. It looks like we're not gonna be dallying around with a low worker count unless one of them is covering for some sort of essentially like using the base as a decoy timing. Because Astrea will have 2 gates done a little quicker than you usually would, just because of how the build works out, which means 2 Adepts going to be popping out probably well before Zergling speed, which just started. So there is opportunity, of course. 2 Adepts have won tournaments on their own. The entirety of Protoss versus Protoss early game is... Wow, what? Like I said, probes, while not great against lurkers, they're... I mean, he was expecting the Adepts to come out, is why he backed off. But still, the idea that that probe's like... No. No. The Zergling dies anyway, so... Probes. If there was one like, in terms of the amount of blood like the quantity of units to amount of blood pressure raised in players throughout the world and throughout StarCraft history, is there a unit even in the same order of magnitude as the probe? Like, you think about, you're like, what about like lurkers or DTs? No, I'm saying the ratio of stress to one probe existing. There is no unit that one of it, like, there's no one unit, not even a mothership, creates the same relative amount of fear that one probe does. Okay, like, sure, lurkers are way scarier than one probe at the 12-minute mark, but not at the 1-minute mark. Not one... You got it. I made my point. You saw the Legacy of the Void cinematic. Who was the real hero of that one? Astrea with the casual third. We'll see if Solar decides on some pressure again. And just some Adept warps in. So this is the casual shade, okay? This is not like calling someone out directly on Twitter. It's like the casual shade, like, you know, my videos don't need swirly arrows to get people interested in them because the content is just so good on its own. Casual shade kind of thing, right? So, and that's what Astrea is doing here. These aren't supposed to do a lot of damage, but it's supposed to... One, it's supposed to keep Solar high. It's succeeding in that. He actually killed an extractor. But it makes it very awkward. Adepts are just... It's very hard to know exactly how committed they are. And it really depends on the player, too. Like, Zest probably already would have lost these Adepts. Whereas Astrea managed to lose... He's only lost an Adept this game. Not that there's been much exchange, but he kept essentially all of them alive. There's no glaives. Okay, maybe this time one probe... Okay, the probe moves out of the way for people who are a little more qualified. It looked like Solar was lining up for some sort of queen push, which is pretty customary against essentially any Stargate opener. You don't really need a reason. Nowadays, as queens are kind of the go-to. Solar opting for the Spire, which, gambling a little that Astrea will not be continuing down the Stargate path, it's going to pay off. Though Astrea is going for Blink, and that Blink is... Okay, so once again, we're going to have a game where no player has a decided leg up. This is going to be another in-your-face, back and forth, unless Astrea is completely caught off guard by Mutas. That is the other scenario, where 10 Mutas show up at the worst possible time. But Astrea's been pretty diligent about doing things like hallucination scouting. It's also a little suspicious that there's been no attempt at an attack. There's been no queen push. These Zerglings are all that Solar's made, and really... Well, he was thinking about the trap there, but... So with 12 Mutas and +1, like, Solar's banking on this. While Phoenixes do counter Mutas, the idea is to blindside the Protoss. Like, one Phoenix is not going to solve your problems. Not two Phoenixes, also not... Did he really save the Void Ray? I think it doesn't have a shield battery, but Astrea has lost one probe and one adept so far, despite continually poking and prodding Solar. That's about to change. Yeah, four Stalkers. Well, with the cannon finishing just barely in time, that Void Ray gonna have a rough day. +1 isn't quite done, but Blink is. Oh no! Wait, is that not a... He's not warping into the super pylon! Oh... Yeah, I mean... Trading Stalkers for Mutas. Like, as long as it's a trade, that's the important point. Like... Ugh. He needs to kill Mutas with this. If it's just the Stalkers driving away the Mutas. And Solar at the same time. I'm seeing the Blink. He's gambling a little. There's not going to be Archons or Storm, and that's going to pay off. Like, a lot of the gambles have paid off so far. But Astrea is still on a comfortable enough amount of probes. He has upgrades on the way. He already had the Blink, so it's not like he's desperately going for it. Yeah, like, Solar doesn't have really enough economy to just be trading straight up with Mutas. You need a critical mass, otherwise they can't really do anything. Beautiful force! Oh. The only way Astrea loses the depths. You see, it didn't even count because Astrea killed it himself. Oh. Purification Nova, indeed. We have another Stargate. It looks like Astrea has realized this scenario. He knows that, well, Mutas are obviously the order of the day. He probably checked and saw they have +1 attack now. So that means a pretty significant... the Zerglings are getting in. It's mostly Blink Stalkers. That is a lot of Mutas. The Zerglings have a lot of surface area here. Quite an awkward fight. No Guardian Shield to help out. More Blink Stalkers coming in. Solar just kind of wiggling his way in there. The Disruptor kind of sitting around hoping to do something helpful that doesn't kill its own units. That was a hallucinated Phoenix. Shield battery taken out. The Muta count still at 24. The Mutalisks seem to be doing the damage, and there's a reason Phoenixes and Archons are the counters, not Blink Stalkers. Blink Stalkers are a defense, but they're not how you actually deal with the Mutalisks. They're just fighting, and they're winning because that's how it goes. Like, Stalkers are not great. They need help. They're very sad units on their own. As Solar just overruns everything and brings us to a quick match point. Stalkers just... like... Well, when was the last time we saw a Mutalis as the killing blow? Especially in kind of a more macro game and not a surprise. Huh. I thought the Blink Stalkers would be enough, but Solar just on top of the injects. Obviously, in order to get that many lings and lists out, Solar's pretty good. I really thought Astrea would stabilize against the Mutas, and we'd see where Solar goes next, but... Hello? The Zerglings get in, and the Stalkers go out. You can't explain that. Will Solar even attempt? As we know, the two bases that Zerg are allowed to take as their second base are their third or their opponent's natural. And it is customary. Your Solar will be taking his third as Astrea already. Being the annoying Protoss that every Protoss is. Kind of redundant to say it. And do a little mining micro more to annoy than have any real practical effect on 2,000 atmospheres here for Game 3 of the ESL Shopify. I forget if it's ESL Shopify. Shopify is partnered with ESL Pro Tour. Bigger and better open cups and so much more. Go check out the site. Okay, is this how you wall this off? Astrea, show me the way. I guess. I mean, you can. Usually you don't want a pylon in the wall because obviously it's vulnerable, but it can also serve as kind of a bait as well. Like, oh, I'm gonna Baneling Buster. When was the last time we saw a Baneling Bust above the Diamond League? Like, just a straight-up Baneling Bust against Protoss. I can't, like, I don't think I've seen one this entire year. Just, mostly because Queen Pushes and Ravagers are just better. They're better in almost every way when it comes to larva management, when it comes to actual cost. Banelings, unfortunately, relegated to being more of a mid-game unit as opposed to an early game. Astrea with the Stargate again. Some adept pressure. Neither of these players are looking to do super early damage. I would be surprised to see any sort of cannon rush from Astrea. Just like I'd be pretty surprised for some sort of unprovoked roach timing out of Solar. Ooh, missed the mark on that shot. Void Ray is the choice. So the most boring and safe option, where you just get a Void Ray and then you kind of just have a Void Ray, which is, I mean, there you go. And then it makes it a lot harder for them to attack on the ground. They gotta, you deny scouting. Do I have to really go through the list again? Now, does he cancel the Oracle? Because the Overlord saw it. Or does he not care? I mean, it is possibly the least surprising thing in the world to be building an Oracle after this. Okay. What does Solar do? I like the Mutas. I like to see just mixing it up. Both these players mixing it up a bit in the mid-game. Unfortunately for Astrea, that has not worked out for him. The wild Protoss style. It's different. It's different than the YOLO toss. Like, there are usually two flavors of Protoss. You got your YOLO, like, they're almost two different, they play almost two different races. You got, like, Parting, and usually Zest, or SOS, your YOLO toss. It's like the Oracle got 3 kills. Oof. You've got Sadness, like Astrea right now, who almost got an Extractor, but instead lost his Void Ray, which... Is he going to come in with the Oracle to kill the Extractor? Or, like, Solar's already predicting that move. Oh, that was sad. Anyways, you got your Shield Protoss, named after stats. The Shield of Iron. Like, you got, like, your Showtimes and your Neebs. And then you have kind of your, I don't know what I'd call it. You'd have your middle ground. Like, usually more macro, but occasionally we'll whip it out. I'd still put Astrea as a shield toss, but you got, like, Trap. I'd say Zest is more of a mixed Protoss player. He tries both flavors, though recently more of a YOLO toss. It's just that the styles are very distinct, more so than any other race, I feel. I think it's partially just because Protoss, you have to make a strong decision of what you're going for. Like, every piece of tech and even every unit is incredibly expensive, so... It becomes very stylistic what you choose. Whereas Terran and Zerg aren't usually limited like that. Like, you built a Roach Warren. Doesn't mean you're going Roaches. Like Rogue likes his Roaches a lot of the time, but there aren't too many sort of players like that. Maru will 2 racks, but Maru will also play a 3cc greedy, just dying to everything sort of style. Oh, Maru. Except when it works, and it looks amazing. I will point that out. Does Astrea go for the Extractor? The time for getting the Extractor is past, okay? The time for the Gateway Explosion has begun. Astrea with 6 more gates added on. I think that's going to be, is it 8 or 10? I think 8. And then adding a 4th base without even attempting to attack. And I like it, but also I'm concerned. A robotics bay. He's adding the robo bay already before, like, storm or really a significant amount of archons. Astrea is sprinting up the tech tree. Solar is doing kind of the same thing. Did he forget his Hydraless den? Or it is a little on the late side. He should have a Lurker den. No, he didn't really forget it. It's just the Lurker den's going to be a little later than the Hive. It's got to be a Lurker den, right? Like, he's not actually... Come on. Hydras haven't been good since the war. Astrea, small army. But wait. No. You warp in some units right now, Astrea. Wow. This reminds me of kind of an old school style. It doesn't really work as well in Legacy of the Void because economies are so high. You just get so many workers and bases. Where you'd move out with like a tank push or a sentry push. You'd force the Zerg to make units and then you back off. And that's essentially what Astrea just did. Except now Solar made units and here they are. Look at the units. They're at his front door. And he can build a lot of them. Great force fields, slowing things up, and will force the turnaround here somewhat. Astrea was ready for the units that he kind of forced out. Oh my god, hello. Okay, and here comes the rest of the team. It went from 3 to 12 zealots very quickly. And this is the danger of the Prism. You have to have enough units at home. He's targeting down some of these workers. The Queen's starting to get involved. What is this? Why are these units? No, go home. Go home. Get out of here. What are you doing? No. What is this? Okay. All right. He gets out, like, right before he loses some of the most expensive units. Disruptors are now on the field alongside... Astrea is trying to have his army and make a completely new one, too. He's gone... He has 87 probes, 4 bases, getting a fleet beacon, 2 more stargates, blink, building disruptors, +2 and +1 air weapons. Okay. Like, it looks like he got mom's credit card or something to pay for all this. I don't... 87 probes on 4 bases. As long as he doesn't have to build any more units that cost gas, maybe he can afford it. But... This one warp prism, I guess, is how he's paying for it. This one warp prism's existence. Like, what are you going to do, abduct it? I think Solar realized at the last second that would not actually do anything unless he has 2 of them. So far, Astrea has been zoning... he's been zoning out quite well. The entire army comes back. Oh. So that all happened, but meanwhile... Okay. He's out here with, like, the special forces of Protoss. And then you realize this is most of his army. Because he's building 3 carriers and a disruptor. He's got, like, 25 of his 63 army supply in the mail right now. And it's still a little ways from being delivered. Disruptors coming out. The stasis field helping out a bit. Starting to work on the rocks, open up some opportunities. Disruptor, ready for a shot, takes one, finishes off the rocks and a few Ravagers with it. Astrea, dramatic punctuation mark on those rocks. The thing is, Solar has dallied too long. That Warp Prism, while a threat, kept him busy for so long that carriers have arrived. Okay? It's happening. And now, Astrea, though he has postured, he showed units out on the field, it's mostly been just sitting back and building up to carriers. And the problem is there's just not anti-air. No. 3 Hydras. No. No. Yes. Back off. Okay. Like, 3 Hydras. They're not +3 Hydras. They're just 3 Hydras. Not as good. Not as good as a few games back. A couple games back. with overwhelming Hydras against a handful of carriers. No, Astrea has more workers. He's getting the rest of the upgrades. This is that unit composition that everyone has strong feelings about. Let's put it that way. Whether you're a caster, a player, or somewhere in between, probably below. But carriers, he's got disruptors, he's got every unit but DTs that is incredibly and almost exponentially dangerous as a force multiplier. Like, any sort of critical mass of Hydralisk is vulnerable to disruptors and Storm, though Storm isn't done, and there are no Templars with this. Small amounts of units are easily picked off by the carriers. We're missing a mothership to force... Oh, he dodges! Goodbye. The mothership is another piece of the puzzle. Zerg spellcasters of all varieties. Queens, helpful for keeping things intact. Astrea actually has so many probes right now. Oh. Rest in peace, Brenda. Pieces. Actually, probably just one mist of molecules. I don't know what happens after the purification novas, but... So there's an Ultralisk Cavern on the way. That's not a mistake. That's not like a meme, as the kids are saying. It's a bit of a poggers, though, I will say. Indeed. The Ultralisks are there to die. But as long as they take either Disruptors and or Templar with them, or they are part of an actual meaningful counterattack, then that is the purpose that they serve. Like, Zerglings at some point are just not going to do it. They're not going to be able to counterattack on their own. But a few Ultras to crack open the defenses or close the distance against the Templar are the best, at least, current option for helping to deal with the splash damage. Like, 3, maybe 4. Not like 12. Not 1, but like 3 Ultras, maybe with a few Queens, can either force out a lot of the splash damage early, or be an effective counterattack. But Astrea is just chipping and chomping away at Solar. Solar has barely any creep outside this base, just whipping out some shots. Karen, we told you not to stand outside. Why do you always gotta stand? I need to see. You could see from... We have cameras. Base not canceled, which means he loses 300 minerals. Oh, no. Astrea, I wish I didn't know this, well, is using the Diva announcer, so really embracing his inner Korean. And the great shield wall of Astrea. Oh, my God. Really challenge... I'm sorry, is this Alexander or is this Astrea? Was it Caesar or I think it was Alexander the Great, who just like, I'm building a wall here! In the middle of everything, the sieging. Either way, it will now be known. Using the Warp Prism as part of this. He's killing his own shield battery to open up more space for his probe. But actually, and then he throws up a base. Astrea, the Magnificent. Solar, when the walls fell. Something like that. We're mixing a lot of references here. But here we are. Astrea holding position. Outside Solar's base. The siege continues. The rest of the map is pretty open. That's what Solar will be working with. Now, like, the Disruptors continue working their way through the spores, and it's not really costing much. You rarely see such a commitment to the defense, but without Broodlords... Without Broodlords or well-positioned Lurkers, I guess they're... Oh, it doesn't get the Storm, but... Okay, so now here we are. The siege continues. Some more shots thrown out. The Lurker trying to dodge in. I mean, the exchanges, it's a stalemate. Not literally, but they're both banking up a huge amount of money. They have very little way to exchange blows without risking a significant amount of the army. There's no cheap units really left that can be thrown around. Zerglings are just nothing at this stage. Gateway units are very similar. A disruptor shot. I'm gonna clip a Hydra. And what a map to have this on. I'm very excited. This is a rich Vespene base, which means this geyser is only one gas geyser. You mine it way quicker. So Astrea, he doesn't need to hold this position. You mine it twice as fast? Or is it... You're so rare that people actually get to mine from these. But it still has the same amount as a regular gas geyser. So it doesn't actually give you more, it just helps you mine it out faster. So if the map mines out, which we have to consider, if the map mines out, then it will be irrelevant faster, I guess. There will be no point in attacking into it. And it appears both players have kind of accepted that, well, the top left side, the top left quadrant, the northwest passage, if you would. That is going to become the most relevant part of the map as the minerals and incomes tick down. Astrea banking almost twice as much now. Astrea's army composition, 7 carry. What? The Ultralists get a taste of Disruptor and they don't like how it. Not a good mouthfeel. All right, not a good mouthfeel. He says, and the Protoss are like, "What's a mouthfeel?" But here we are. Some Brood Lords and Festers, the rest of the upgrades for Solar. Meanwhile, Astrea trying to clear some things. Chrono boosted out. He's now got +3/+3. No shield upgrades yet. I think he chrono boosted that just to make Solar targeted. Oh, some unburrowed Hydras here because... Okay, you might want to rebuild. Does he have another Cyber Core somewhere? No, actually. You're going to probably want to rebuild the Cyber Core. So here we are. Here we are. Here we are. Astrea raising the CP. It's only 19 minutes in. Like, in the last 10 minutes, I've aged 50. We're only 19 minutes in, but the board is set. They both have at least another Remax in the bank. Though Solar's a little tenuous. Like, you don't want to just kind of lose Ultras to cannons. Oh, no, run! Run! Ah! What a save. The Hero Lisk will survive. The Robobay? I guess we're just building some cannons here? Why not? At this point, he could build like 70 more cannons and still... The Hydras find the weakest point on the map, which is directly in the center. Which is also where it's very easy. Oh, he gets an Archon, which is like more than nothing. It's one Archon more than nothing. Wow, feedback. Zip. Oh, the High Templar. Well, this is not the ideal usage of High Templar. Okay, we see the gun. Oh, fire everything! A full broadside by Astrea completely whiffs. As the base, how much gas? There's still 1,900 gas here. Solar is struggling into the top level. He's hard-pressed to defend as Astrea just confidently plopped himself down. A very American base from Astrea, just putting himself out there with an overwhelming amount of cannons and technological superiority. And here come the carriers, which Solar does not have either. So, but Neural Parasite is done. So, options. Not a ton. Solar is still in a tough spot. But this is actually not that expensive. Astrea still has 85 probes, which is good for Solar, because that means his army is 40 supply higher. That is a lot. Though, I don't know what happened here, but the debris tells me that somebody took an ultra risk. Alright, the observer's sniped. Oh my god, the Oracle just kind of drifted out of Neural Parasite range, which rarely happens. Grab it. No! I think the Infestors wanted to grab it, but the Corruptors just decided. Okay, so that happened. The most expensive units Protoss can build on the ground, dealing dramatically with changelings. Couple feedbacks, putting the Vipers back in their place. How many Overseers are there? There's a dozen, and I think almost all of them are here. Alright. Astrea with so much in the back. He's got to start getting rid of these probes. Sorry, probes, but your time is nearly past here. How is this not a super pile? Oh my god. 3 hours. Go get them, probes! That blood pressure raising for entirely different reasons for Solar here. This is not... Like, I never understand this. Okay, you know what'd be easier? To just kill your own probes with, like, a disruptor, or the cannons, or with other probes. But it's like an unwritten rule that instead of just killing your own workers, you must send them out as a dramatic statement of, yeah, look how rich I am. I'm so rich I don't even care about these probes. But sometimes, like, just Solar, grab a probe. Solar, play Protoss. Solar, it's your opportunity! That was Solar's chance to switch to Protoss and give himself a shot. Oh, Astrea! Astrea just grabs Solar's base and slams a dozen cannons and shield batteries at it. And that's 1,900 gas. That's, it's gone. Once it's mined, it doesn't come back. It's not a renewable resource. Neither are minerals, but they take a little longer. Oh, here we are. Oh, what is the cannon count? He's getting extended thermal lance. We got 51 cannons. Over 2 CPM, let alone 16 shield batteries. How many spores? 20 spores have died. 24 on the map right now. What upgrades don't we have? That's what we got to start listing. There's Observer and Warp Prism speed. He's getting thermal lance. +2 shields. +2 air armor. Whereas Solar has +3/+3 in the air. He's building a Spire. He already has 2, but he's inspired here. Just in case, like, you can never have too many. Oh, the feedback's popping in festers like the oversized pimples they are. Not as juicy as it once was with twice as much damage on the feedback, but here we are. Meanwhile, this is happening. Dark Templar warped in. The sheer amount of Corruptors is pretty intimidating. Oh! That Templar. Whipping out Storm and feedback. Another broadside. The creeping barrage of Disruptors continues its efforts. The Queens trying to bring things back up to full HP. Solar is maxed out, but Astrea is mining what could be considered Solar's gas now. I don't even like, we reached the point of the game where, what is the point of this? Like, if you kill gateways, like, what does that accomplish? Unfortunately, losing a couple broods, those Tempests just obliterating whatever they get close enough to. Oh no! Astrea catching disruptors. Or disruptors being caught by fungal, but not until after catching infestors. Another fungal, a good one, but like, there's not enough to capitalize here. Solar just getting ground down. Finally getting something in return. Yanks in a carrier and a void ray. The main base is slowly... Well, what is he recalling? We're gonna find out. The home defense force. So didn't take the bait. What we haven't seen is a mothership. We haven't seen a mothership, and we haven't seen swarm hosts for Zerg or mutas or banelings. Okay, there's a pretty did he even build roaches at any point? Yeah. I guess he lost. Yeah, he lost a lot of roaches. Just didn't really do anything. So Astrea has twice the bank here as he continues to grind down. All he has to do is trade 1-to-1. Eventually, he will win off that. Of course, this is not how 1-to-1 works. Ooh, that's a great catch out of Solar, but... Oh my god. Well, Astrea's like, well, I hope you're not looking at your infestors. Yep, you just got essentially all the infestors. So anything Solar killed was just balanced out by him losing almost all of his infestors to a Disruptor broadside, which seemed like an obvious play out of Astrea, but it still worked. So Solar once again digging himself into a deeper hole economically. He's lost 1,200 more gas. He's lost 18 infestors. Astrea has lost 9 High Templar and 5 disruptors. So those are expensive units, but like some more Zerglings in the main. A uncomfortably long warp in here. Recall, I think, is so the reason you build the mothership is to defend against this. The mothership is more for defending against counterattacks than it is for being part of the... Okay, here we go. Some infestors find the mark. Fungal, parasitic bomb, wombo combo, looking for more damage. There's essentially no storm, but there are cannons and there are archons, and that's enough to get Solar to turn around. 5 more Stargates being built anywhere but the main. I have no... Okay, in the bottom right corner of all the bases that will be attacked, that's probably the last one, so... The Corruptor still going right up the center. Like, you do have to ask, like, what is the objective? What are you trying to accomplish? Flux Veins is on the way, just filling in whatever he can. Like, what is the purpose of these attacks? Because it's very incredibly unlikely you're going to do significant damage to the infrastructure. Astrea can build whatever he wants. I think Solar's kind of flailing now. Losing so many infestors. He can't remax. He has 7,900 gas in his current army. How much gas does he have left on the table? 800? 1,600. 17, 18. He has less than 2,000 gas yet to mine. So Solar literally can't rebuild his army, even if he's mined out. Assuming he loses all of it, of course, which is probably GG in and of itself. Astrea can rebuild his army 3 times over. Fungals. The Zerglings are killing probes, but I'm not sure that's a bad thing for Astrea. The Archon turns its coat or its energy field and it kills a Templar. Here come some Broodlords. The Archons being nibbled away. This base is mined out, like... Solar starting to even things... Like, he's still down 1,000 gas on top of the bank. The bank is ridiculous. It's... He has too much money. He's too rich. Okay? 1% of players have 99% of the minerals right now. And Solar's starting to think that fighting Skytoss is not the battle he was looking for. Zealots are fighting Zerglings like the good old days 20 minutes ago. Yanks, I care. 1-2! As long as he doesn't take counter damage. The problem is that even the Zealots are scary. Oh, gotta be careful about the Tempest. Solar needs continuous wins like this. His army is technically better. I'd love to see maybe a little Microbial Shroud, like just to make it a little easier to keep units alive. The Tempest shots just unloading on the Broodlords. There are some Templar down there. There's a wide array of spellcasters for both sides. Zealots are still exchanging. Like, you don't want to just lose your base if you're Solar, obviously. Solar is taking wins. The gas on the map is nearly mined out. Astrea still has 900. Yeah, that's it. Full stop. This is how the probes are killing drones. I mean, eventually armor upgrades are good. Oh, here come the rest. Switch to Protoss. It's too late to switch to Protoss. More of the probes. Astrea is whittling down. The armies are nearing full capacity, as there's nothing left for the workers to do. There's nothing left to mine. Astrea is... the only thing not mined out is the bottom right corner. The only use of probes is for building things, which at some point also becomes obsolete. This gas geyser is mined. There's only a few hundred gas left on the map. And when the chess match, that is the late game, is set, Astrea is left with 7,000 more gas. Which seems like quite a hill to climb. An expensive one. Oh, those broods. These are not... At some point, he's going to stop being able to replace them. The revelations are great. He's trying to get a catch. There's not that many gets. Oh, nice targeting on the feedbacks. The Overseers being next to the Vipers makes it a little harder to nail the feedbacks. Meanwhile, the main base is under attack, and just also an exchange. The Broodlord is trying to snipe some Templars, succeeding to an extent. Oh, he's using the carrier to snipe Templar! Oh, he grabs one! At this point, using whatever tools he can get. Unfortunately, though, for Solar, he's going to have to do that a few dozen more times. Alright, the board is set. The corners are nearly mined out. There will be no more resources. Grabs not one but two carriers. Astrea now losing slightly more gas, but that is about to change. Oh my god. Not again. Once again, Solar nabs a couple carriers, and once again, Astrea saunters out onto the field and murders every infestor. That is just... It happened again. Essentially the bait and switch. Solar outmaneuvered with his own play. He has a tell, essentially, is what we're seeing here. Astrea once again realizing the infestors were in a vulnerable position. Oh, that... It looked like it was starting to trend a little bit back towards Solar. Not, like, still a lot, but... And then another volley of Disruptor Novas. And, well, that trend has been reversed. +1 armor is just now being... What am I watching? Are there enough minerals? There are some minerals over here, by the way. Zerglings are finding damage. Astrea's down to almost as many probes as he started with. There are a few minerals over here, and Solar needs minerals, by the way. He needs minerals. Are you gonna... Oh, wait, he got it! But the feedback knocked out the energy of both the Templar and the Infestor, thus negating that entire exchange! Oh. Fungal? Oh no, the feedbacks are immaculate here. He's nailing the Vipers, despite there being a lot of interference from the Overseers. Solar is running out. He's just running out. Okay, like, he's getting ground down to his inner carapace. Astrea now has 2 less probes than he began the game with. But so much has happened since then. Some zealots. Astrea. The army vet 9,300 gas is the cost of this army. Out of Solar. Oof. He doesn't have much of that left. At this point, he's mined out. He's mined out. There's no more gas for Solar. There's no more gas for anyone. It's gone. Vespine gas is now a thing of the past. There is none left to be mined. The final count. Solar has 1,557 and 9295. Will be the final number for both players. The minerals, there's still a few left to be nabbed here, but essentially 12k for Astrea. 1,200 for Solar. The army supplies nearing 200. 180 to 186. Astrea must win this. Remember, he's down 2-0. Oh, the parasitic bomb doing insane amounts of damage. But it's just to shields, and there's an overcharge. The Infestor dodges the Disruptor Novas to hit a fungal. A lot of damage is done. He's got to follow it up with something. If there's ever a time, now's that time. The parasitic bomb doing a ton of damage to shields and almost nothing else. But at what cost? More of the precious few drones being taken out. Zerglings exchanging. Solar now no longer can rebuild anything but drones. Maybe a Zergling or 2. Literally 2. How many Vipers? There's still 3 Vipers left. Astrea. Okay, so the technical way to win a game of StarCraft is to kill all your opponent's buildings. We rarely get to that end. Because, of course, you can tell which direction it's going to go before that. It's considered to be impolite, to say the very least, to extend it well beyond your chance of victory. But occasionally... Oh, grabs an Archon, but... this has happened too many times. Those Infestors tripping over each other. They're far too thick to get away. Solar can no longer replace his units. No workers. I guess we're base trading. Solar has a much more malleable base. Oh no! The Void Ray is defending. Nab a Broodlord. Solar won't be able to build any more supply. The Infestors have been left on their own for far too long. Not again. Great Fungals. The Carrier's out of range. An irreplaceable Infestor. How many now? 36. Astrea just needs to hold on to the army. He needs to make sure that every unit he loses comes with an equal price. or even double. Like, he can lose 300 gas for almost nothing. As long as he kills anything, it's a win. Solar is now playing a chess match. The pieces are on the board, and once they're taken off... Oh, a snipe gets... unfortunately, gets the same carrier parasitic bombed. A lot of damage is dealt. The disruptors are zoning. I can't even tell where they're going for. The Brood Lords are grinding forward. Let's go to the units tab here. The Brood Lords, these ones having a tough time. The Broodlings actually tanking a lot of damage. There's not that much storm left. There's not that much splash on the ground. Oh, he actually steals a Ruptor, but not well enough. Another Disruptor. Another few Infestors. There might be an opportunity. There's just one Archon. He's gonna go through it. This is it. This is all that's left. The Corruptors are target firing. The Broodlords underneath. Here come the Infestors, a little late to the party, but he's gonna go for the Neural Parasite. Wait a second. Suddenly, everything is Solar's army. He's gonna hold it down. He's gonna knock it around, and suddenly the supply plummets. Wait one moment. Unfortunately for Solar, he won the battle against significant odds. But the board is still set, and Astrea can still build. Unfortunately, that same army again. The thing is, Solar maintained a critical mass. Solar, he doesn't... The reason he's gonna care about any of these buildings... The reason he cares is because if he loses all his buildings, he gets eliminated from the game. So, oh my god, the beautiful Fungals recalling out the Zealots. Solar has 0 drones. Not that he could do much with them if he had... No! No! Oh, after everything, he loses the Vipers. Oh, these key timings of spellcasters bleeding out. Solar, what a heartbreaker. So many times it's looked like Solar was getting into an okay position and then immediately slapped down. And suddenly, like, there's just not... A ground army can win the fight. There's not enough Brood Lords. Without the Vipers, Infestors are very helpful, but it looks very much like the series will continue. And Astrea, after 42 minutes, 44 minutes, I'm sorry. Astrea will bring it. Solar. If one of those massive disruptor hits or snipes had been avoided, I don't know. But he actually did it. He killed the army. Unfortunately, at what cost? But he killed it. But Astrea had been penny pinching and gas collecting just enough to afford another one. Oh. Okay. Well, that means we're going to game 4. Okay, Jimmy says, before we go to game 4, a quick advertising break. So if you guys could pause ad block, I'll be right back. Thank you for watching. Hey everybody, I'm Winter, and I'm here to tell you that even though obviously you're not watching this with ad block, you can see this anyways. Great start. Thank you for the script, Jimmy. Anyways, have you heard of Prime Gaming? Prime Gaming, even if you're watching on YouTube owned by our Google overlords, even if you're watching that match owned by our Zerg overlords, never forget our Amazon overlords, because they don't forget about you. With Prime Gaming, you can get exciting loot for shitty mobile games and also subscribe to my stream every month for free. And every moment you don't, you're losing money for me. So subscribe with Prime Gaming today. But wait, there's more. Did you know that on YouTube, if you like and you subscribe, very different somehow, you ring the bell, there's so many ways to engage. So that way we can collect data on what you know and you can find more videos just like this one. If you enjoy my casting, or at least tolerate it on a semi-regular basis, make sure to encourage yourself to get force-fed more, to browse more of my content every single day. No, I know the arrows might lead you otherwise, but I hope I can help lead you back here for even more of the best and the worst of StarCraft 2 and so much more, but probably mostly StarCraft 2, because otherwise, it gets very mad that you uploaded and not. Anyway, Prime Gaming. Thank you guys for sticking around. We're back to the Shopify ESL Pro Tour, where after one of the most dramatic games of, honestly, all time, and especially, I think that is possibly the closest to mining actually out I've seen this year. Unfortunately for Astrea, the first two games, he tried these mid-game styles, okay? He's up there with Blink Stalkers, Disruptors, getting up in Solar's grill, and then Solar just decided to run over his face.